Hello there and good morning. That master war strategist, Joe Biden, spearheads a new world police partnership against China. As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please do press that little bell, but also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. And we thought Joe Biden was going all isolationist and casting off the world police uniform. But last night a new anti-China defence partnership was forged. AUKUS, AUKUS. AUKUS sounds like something out of The Lord of the Rings, doesn't it? But it's an obvious counterweight to Chinese expansionism. And Australia, the UK and the US last night announced the new defence partnership to bolster Australia's defence capabilities by starting the process of our Oz allies procuring nuclear-powered submarines to be built in Adelaide. That'll have the Green Lobby in a huff, and several others too, as I'll come on to. And if anything shows the world how concerned the West is over Chinese plans as it expands into the South China Sea and east towards Taiwan, claiming more and more sea areas as it goes, then nothing will. At 10 p.m. UK time last night, the PM of Australia, Scott Morrison, the PM of the UK, Boris Johnson, and the US President Joe Biden gave a virtual joint press conference to outline the plans and vision of this new agreement. And it won't be lost on China that the Australian PM led the statement, followed by Boris and finally underlined by Joe Biden. And all three were at great pains to explain that this agreement was about conventionally armed but nuclear-powered submarines. No nuclear arms non-proliferation treaties would be breached, they said. Now, although China wasn't specifically named as the reason for all of this, I would think it's patently obvious that China is the big concern here. Now, the aim is that the Royal Australian Navy capability will, in the decades to come, be built up to be technically on par with the Chinese, with more silent submarines that can stay at sea for longer undetected and carry a heavier warload. The new AUKUS agreement will also cover artificial intelligence, quantum technology and cybertech. The three were also keen to point out that other defence allies such as Five Eyes and the Quad will not be affected. And the first people this has really upset is the French government. It had struck a £27 billion deal to supply Australia with 12 new submarines, but it wasn't going too well. And as a result of AUKUS, the Australian government has cancelled the order. It seems that Canberra wanted to source many of the components locally, but France wasn't having any of that. On this new deal, the former French ambassador to Washington, Gerard Araud, tweeted, "The world is a jungle. France has just been reminded this bitter truth by the way the US and the UK have stabbed her in the back in Australia. C'est la vie." And I wonder if the EU is feeling a bit snubbed by not being at the top table on this one. A statement by the three countries said, "As the first initiative under AUKUS, we commit to a shared ambition to support Australia in acquiring nuclear-powered submarines for the Royal Australian Navy. This capability will promote stability in the Indo-Pacific and will be deployed in support of our shared values and interests." Now, there will be an 18-month assessment first to ensure all nuclear power stewardship and non-proliferation rules are followed. But the stated aim is to bring an Australian capability into service at the earliest achievable date. One interesting aspect of this is that, as I understand it, Australia has banned the production of nuclear power on its soil, much like the Republic of Ireland has, although there has been debate about reversing this policy stance. But Australia does hold 33% of the world's uranium deposits and is the third largest supplier of uranium behind Kazakhstan and Canada. Now, another nose that may be out of joint over this is that of New Zealand. And on this, The Guardian says, New Zealand is not part of a new security pact between Australia, the UK and US, in what experts say is an illustration of the distance between the country and its traditional allies. And it also says that Canada was notably absent. The Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, said the new submarines would be banned from New Zealand waters, which shouldn't actually present AUKUS with any problems. But she also said that the Five Eyes intelligence partnership was still intact. And then added that she hadn't been offered a place in this new partnership, and also she said that she wouldn't have expected to have been asked, possibly because of the nuclear power angle. Or maybe because Canada and New Zealand have been leaning more and more towards China over the last few years. Now, in his part of the statement, Boris did push the domestic business angle a bit, hinting that this would benefit the UK. But there has thus far been no meat on the bone of who's paying or who would benefit from any of the contracts to build these submarines. But overall, this will have thrown a rather large boulder into the Indo-Pacific geopolitical scene, and maybe caused China to pause and think. Now, the UK-US partnership had looked a bit battered and bruised after the US-led Afghanistan-rushed withdrawal. But Joe Biden has asked Boris Johnson to a meet-up in the White House next week in the US to discuss China, climate change and COVID. Now, let's be clear. It's being reported that Australia raised this AUKUS idea back in March. It was not born yesterday or last week. So we went through the whole Afghanistan debacle that showed we had a misplaced trust in Joe Biden's US, while at the same time this AUKUS idea was still being worked on by all three nations. Now, what's all this talk about an early UK general election? But before I get to that, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Super Thanks, Patreon and PayPal supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Links in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. Now, the Telegraph is reporting that Oliver Dowden, who is the new Cabinet Office Minister since Michael Gove was moved to Housing, and also the new co-chair of the Tory party replacing Amanda Milling, has told his party to prepare for a general election, possibly within 20 months. Now, the next general election is due on Thursday the 2nd of May 2024, and Dowden is saying it could be as early as May 2023, a year early. But Dowden did also say that you can't fatten a pig on market day. So I take it he's getting the drive on early to be really prepared for 2024, but also be ready to take on an early election if required. All sounds very industrious and let's get our shoulder behind the wheel. But it will be a hard sell for the party faithful when their boss looks more large state tax and spend than Labour does. So what's your opinion on AUKUS? Please like and comment below.